Hello, welcome everyone. My name is Boris Mann, and today is December 20th on the West Coast in Vancouver, where I am, and the 21st in Japan, where our guest Kay, who is the founder and developer behind WhiteWind, is. We're going to have a presentation about developing WhiteWind, and really pleased to have this talk as kind of the original alternate lexicon built on top of AT protocol. I'm an independent app protocol enthusiast. So I've been running these tech talks to try and connect the app protocol developer community, atprotocol.dev, and there's some links in the chat. Feel free to also ask questions there, and I'm happy to ask your question for you for the recording. Hang on, I'm just getting a pop-up from Zoom, and it's asking me if I'm Japanese. I'm like, nope. Perfect. Okay, take it away, Kay. Would you like to screen share and go through your presentation?
Hey, thank you, Bryce. Let me share my screen. Hey, hello, everyone. Thank you for joining the TikTok. I'm K-NKSM, developer of WhiteWind. So let me introduce myself a little bit. Uh, yeah, as I said, my handle name is K-NKSM, and the Blue Sky handle is here. I will share this slide later, so please follow me if you want. And my current job in my real life is web front-end engineer. However, as a web front-end engineer, the career, I've been web front-end engineer for 1 year, one and a half year. But I have longer experience in backend and infrastructure. Especially, I was working on network protocols. So, for example, I was making a IoT EV charger protocol converter, and I also worked on distributing. Sorry, I was also working on network protocol certificate in Japan. So, yeah, my I'm very interested in learning network protocols. That is why I started learning Arc Proto. And yeah, I had a tech blog about what I learned called Final Tech Blog before I created WhiteWind. The reason why it's called Final Tech Blog is I created several tech blogs, but it didn't last longer. So uh, I wanted to make this tech blog last blog for me. But yeah, and I wrote some articles about Art Proto in Japanese. So yeah, that's the reason why I started working on making my original app view, WhiteWind. So what is WhiteWind? I think many of you guys already know, but it's a first third-party app view of ArcProto, and it specializes long-form Markdown article. This is a screenshot of WhiteWind. It looks like pretty much similar to other article posting platforms like Dev.io or something like Medium. Or in Japan, there are several tech article posting platforms like Ita or Zen. So I made WhiteWind so that it looks very similar to these platforms in order to evaluate the value of Art Proto. So the differences between WhiteWind and these article platforms is only just WhiteWind is using Art Proto. So these are the functionalities uh, that are implemented on WhiteWind. So first of all, of course, it can render Markdown articles stored in PDS. And also, it has article editor. It has syntax highlight, preview of current draft article, picture upload and deletion of the article. And also, when you post the article link in other platforms like Blue Sky, it shows up link card picture. So of course, you can specify the link card in the WhiteWind record. And also it supports article visibility to some extent. You can hide the article on the top page by selecting URL only or author only visibility. And also, WhiteWind exposes the articles to search engines like Google or Bing so that external viewers can see your posted articles. And also, it gathers all the reactions from other AdProto apps, including those don't know WhiteWind at all. So for example, when you post something in Blue Sky that contains WhiteWind link, the reaction automatically shows up in your blog post. And also, when you post something in link up or front page, WhiteWind renders them nicely. So yeah, it works like a traditional blog comments. And also, WhiteWind lists up recent hot entries in all around the upload world. The last thing is XRPC methods. I think it's not very famous, but WhiteWind implements some XRPC method. So one is get mentioned by entry. So when you specify at URI to this XRPC method, you will get all the reaction at at URI. And also, when you can use this get entry metadata by name to retrieve the R key from article name and author DID. So this
Just
is the
a couple questions. So this is already amazing and very interesting because it has some unique features in it that I kind of want to highlight if people are skipping over. So when you say reactions,
Yeah.
do you basically monitor the fire hose to get those?
Yeah, that's a good question. I prepared the
Okay.
reaction method. So I think
Perfect.
yeah, this is one of the most intriguing feature in what I mean. So are there any other questions? Maybe I should check chat.
Good.
It's
I'm
okay.
just posting links as we go.
Yeah, we'll let you go because I'm sure you have the answers to our questions later on. So I'm too scared to ask now.
I see. Then let me move on to the next slide. So I'd like to introduce briefly about the history of WhiteWind. It began, the history of WhiteWind starts from March 2023. At that time, I started learning what is AdProto. So at that time, there was only specification website of AdProto. It listed up some very new concepts to me, such as PDSs, and also it says something about DID, and also there were some mysterious words like MSD and C4, dark C4, and CID, and so on. So it was pretty much mysterious for me, but at the same time, it made me very much interested in ArtProto. So I wanted to understand all these things, and I wanted to join this new, very new opportunity to make a new generation social service, so social media. So I started to learn ArtProto at that time and wrote some blog articles talking about how DID PLC works and how MSD Markov search tree works in my final tech blog. it's abandoned anyway. But and after that, I needed to take some time to prepare for my private events. But in January 2024, I restarted learning at Proto and started working on making actual product using AtProto. So initially, WhiteWind was Blue Sky clone POC. That is microblogging. The users can just post something, and other users can follow other users. And at that time, the lexicon only had WhiteWind com.whitewind.field post and some following mechanisms. But and I presented these lessons learned while I was making this Blue Sky Clone POC in Blue Sky at Proto meetup in Japan that was held online. Around this time, I came up with the name WhiteWind. This WhiteWind is consists of two words, white and wind. This is because Blue Sky had two words, blue, which is color, and sky, which is nature. So this is very simple. And also, yeah, in February 2024, it was unknown record types were allowed for the first time in Blue Sky PDSs. So any third-party lexicons were allowed to put their records in PDSs. So I heard this from a famous Japanese art proto lover called Yamaten-san. And I pivoted Blue Sky Clone POC to more interested, more realistic variable product. So I decided to make long form article review at that time. And on March 11th, I finally made the first release of WhiteWind. So initially, the top page only had this search blogs text box and button, and it also had some usage and about links. So it was very confusing for beginner users, but yeah. And also the initial article page only had this non-themed Markdown blog, but it was minimum viable product anyway. So it was, it attracted some AtProto purpose. And yeah, it was used since then. And in April, I changed the UI a lot using Tailwind CSS so that it looks like normal long form hosting platform. And the users can just evaluate the value of AtProto without being distracted by these, how can I say, low-level UI. And I implemented reaction system around this time, and I improved editor user experiences, and I implemented visibility and so on. And the important thing at this time is Blog came out, which is third-party WhiteWind application created by Haley in Blue Sky. So it was quite a surprise for me to have a third-party application of WhiteWind. But yeah, it also attracted some attentions from, yeah, Blue Sky people. And in June, I released WhiteWind officially as 1.0, and I open sourced the source code of WhiteWind in GitHub so that other app view developers can use that. And since June, I improved UI and UX, and I improved the robustness of infrastructure, and also I implemented OAuth so that the users don't have to input application password on WhiteWind. Yeah, these are the overview of WhiteWind, and let's take a look at a little bit deeper detail of WhiteWind. So I think most of you guys already know, but I'd like to recap these things. How WhiteWind works. So the architecture of WhiteWind follows the basic philosophy of Arch Proto. We put blog record data on PDS, and Relay gathers data from all PDSs around the world. And AppView subscribes to the relay and filters and creates a view of Arch Proto world. In this case, WhiteWind AppView filters data into only WhiteWind blog entry records and some reactions. And the web client communicates with AppView and renders rendered HTML in the browsers. This is the architecture diagram of above. One thing to note is when the WhiteWind web client writes entry on PDS, it also notifies that of that to WhiteWind AppView. So it doesn't strictly follows the basic philosophy of Arch Proto, but this works like a redundancy route. So a lot of times the WhiteWind relay consumer fails. So sometimes this route doesn't work. And this secondary route is useful to tell the new entries to WhiteWind AppView. And yeah, this is the reaction mechanism slide. So in a nutshell, WhiteWind doesn't understand the lexicons of external services. It just searches WhiteWind URLs in the record, and when it finds it, it puts @URIs into database. And the web client just reads these reaction @URIs and shows them in the reactions section. So first of all, there's a EC2 relay consumer in the infrastructure. It's written in Go language. And when it launches, it retrieves all WhiteWind blog record @URIs from DynamoDB and creates an ahochoracic matcher, string matcher that is very simple string search algorithm for WhiteWind HTTPS URIs. This is, of course, lexicon agnostic, and it doesn't pass any external lexicons anyway. And when the user creates external records, such as app, bsky, feed, post, or blue link at board, or FYI, Ravel front page post, it goes to relay, and the relay consumers read these records on EC2 and uses ahochoracic string matcher. And if the matcher detects WhiteWind URI in these records, it saves the reaction @URI into the database. And when the user opens WhiteWind web client, it calls com WhiteWind blog get mentioned by entry XRPC method with post URI. And the API gateway calls Lambda, and Lambda reads these reaction @URIs, then returns these all @URIs to web client. And the rendering happens on the client side. And yeah, some of the records is rendered richly, like these, like blue sky posts. Yeah, this is how reaction looks like. Boris, do you have any further questions or comments?
Yeah, so you're detecting you're basically domain matching on HTTPS URIs going to the public part right now, because that's what's exposed in the PDS. I know, I think it was actually the blog entry jam that Daniel Holmes was saying that some of those things we could potentially put as a feature and process in the relay itself. Again, you're doing it manually, but what if we want to do the other way around, right? So what if front page has a front page entry about a link, and instead of writing 10,000 characters as a reply, it would actually be kind of interesting in the other direction. So it's just, I think it's an interesting open question about which of these things we could push into common infrastructure in different ways, and of course, who's responsible. And I know, of course, that Nick, who's on the call, has done some really interesting things with Hopper and detecting AT URIs and translating them into the HTTP version. So yeah, this is really great. And I think I was specifically wanted to ask about it because I think it's a really interesting general pattern that we still like. You came up with it, you implement it, and now that people see it in the same way that you connected the lexicon, and then Haley went, oh, I can make a blog, right? It's really great that you have pioneered it, and now we can say, cool, what else can we do with it? What are good patterns? So my question actually would be that, and I don't know if you're covering this elsewhere, what does it generally cost you to run the WhiteWind infrastructure?
Cost. So it's about 9,000 yen per month. So most of them is from AWS WAF, Web Application Firewall. So these relay consumers always runs on EC2, but it doesn't cost so much. And also the number of DynamoDB is not very large. So when it launches, it scans whole entries from DynamoDB, but it is still very, very small and negligible. Yeah, the other cost is from, I forgot, CloudFront maybe? Yeah, but yeah, it's pretty much cheap. Yeah, security is the most expensive thing in WhiteWind. Yeah.
Awesome.
But yeah.
Does anyone else have questions about reactions? Questions or comments?
I think I understand the loop, and is it possible as a blog poster on WhiteWind to selectively remove reactions with this type of system?
That's a good question. Yeah, I was actually requested to implement that feature. Yeah, in principle, technically it's possible. I'm just not implementing that. So if I were to implement that, I would first go to blog posters PDS, and in that PDS there should be a, how can I say, reaction moderation lexicon that lists up the forbidden users. And when it returns reactions, it filters, and these forbidden users will be dropped from response. But it's not implemented.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah.
I think Nick dropped something in the chat.
Yeah, first of all, this is fantastic, and thank you so much. I'm sorry I'm a few minutes late. My bad. What are your thoughts on using records to store the content versus blobs? Because sometimes posts can be large, or there's the concept of the post having a character limit, but with a blob, if you stored Markdown like Markdown text there, you could get around it and still be like conforming to the spec. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that's a good question. First of all, I consider this when I created a lexicon. I thought that text would be the size of text would be negligible compared to binary data. So that is one thing. And the other thing is Upload doesn't explicitly support the migration block, right? So when at that time, at least. So it would be easier to migrate the PDS if these records are stored as a if these data are stored as a record. Yeah. The third thing is I just didn't know how to use Blob API at that time. It was just convenient for me to use just store text or Markdown text in record. So yeah, I guess yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, I've also only started recently looking into blobs too, and I think the biggest takeaway for me with text in records is that it's easier for people to directly see the changes that they're making and the content that they're viewing. And then, of course, it simplifies some facets of rendering or like composition. Like if you're just dealing with plain text or HTML versus like having more complex types. So cool. Thank you. That was great.
Yeah. I have a question, maybe to you. Is it supported to export logs in Archroto spec? So I know, of course, these records are explicitly supported to export, and migration to other PDS is very easy, but I'm not sure about logs.
Yeah.
What the current status of Archroto?
So my understanding, and it's a bit limited, so I apologize, is that records are in that Merkle tree, that car file that gets exported, but blobs are not. You have to explicitly fetch them. And the whole thing depends on the idea that the record associated or the record that's referencing a blob is going to be signed, and the blob is identified as a content addressable storage string, like a checksum. Thus, the integrity of the blob can be verified indirectly through the integrity of the record. So the only danger that could come from it is if there were blobs that were unaccounted for in the car file, right? So if someone was just uploading blobs, but they were never verified or they were never associated with the record, that could be a little questionable. But they're not contained in the car file directly. No.
Cool.
Since we're asking questions, is the content address of the blob the reference?
So sorry, could you repeat the question?
So my understanding is, yeah. So when you and I'm just pulling up at Proto Browser real quick. I'm going to try to find one. So yeah.
It's basically, I believe it stores the content address. You still have the availability problem of the actual blob has to be somewhere so that you can checksum it to check that the content address is correct as well. And of course, with content addressing, it means that you don't necessarily need any particular origin to own it. In that, and you can cache it anywhere from the edge to core to anywhere else or even offline. And then when you bring it and make it available, then you can verify that the content is the same. I'm kind of doing this for the recording and for others as well. Content addressing is one of those things that is in fact not really talked about that much within App Proto, but a lot of the design on it is based around content addressing. So it's kind of interesting, even thinking about your scanning of HTTPS strings. Because essentially the links are contained in there. That's how people do it, where we have this underlying hard reference.
Yeah, and the fact that they're also sort of just hand waved by the fire hose and there's no direct reference means that app views and consumers are entirely left to their own device to fetch and get the content and then do as they need. Adria would know quite a bit about that, given all of their work with how XBlock, for example, fetches images and then performs, processing on images for that feed or for that labeling service.
Cool, awesome. Yeah, so there's an example of the content address that I just pasted from Nick's gist.
Yeah, there's that special link type where, so as you can see, when you have a type blob inside, there's that reference link, and that link points to that contents addressable thing. So if you were to get a blob, you could literally copy and paste that that BAFK string and then fetch it from the PDS directly. Yeah.
Awesome. Feel free to continue, Kay.
Yeah, I see. I can see improvement request. Yeah, I will address it later. And another important thing is of course the record. I talked a little bit in the previous slide, but content is stored as a raw Markdown text. And this is because I could use Facet, but first I didn't want to implement Facet by myself. And Markdown ecosystem is large, and there are a lot of good renderers. So it has good interoperability and easy to make an alternative WhiteWind if you guys want. And the other entry item is created at. It records created and updated time of the entry. I should have not used this to put update time. I was too lazy. I may add new item updated at some point in the future, but for now it's used also as updated time. And also there's Vim. Currently it only supports GitHub Lite, and I saw a lot of requests saying that more customization would be good. And if I were to implement that, I would use existing ecosystem, because blog industry has a lot of good existing themes like Ghost or WordPress. So I would use them if I were to enrich this. And it also has blobs key. It contains bloblets to upload the pictures and the file name of original file name of the blob. I struggled to make this work at the time when I created this, because PDSs refused to access blobs unless they are actually linked from some records. The last thing is visibility. WhiteWind App View takes care of access scope. So there are 3 levels of access scope: author only, URL only, and public. Technically, this doesn't guarantee anything. Everybody can just read PDS records by using curl. But other applications are very gentle, and how can I say? It respects this field. So for example, Tokimeki Blue and Clear Sky doesn't show hidden records in records list. So it was nice to see for me. Yeah, this is the WhiteWind block entry record. I listed up some miscellaneous things. So I implemented rendering optimization. So I think some of you guys might have noticed, but when you put the image link to your Markdown blog entry, it inserts get blog link as a picture. But when it is rendered, it is dynamically replaced to WhiteWind URL. So it can use CloudFront CDN and rendering time on the browser is reduced. So on the other hand, I cannot just replace original link in the Markdown record because it makes the article dependent on WhiteWind. So other third-party app view creators cannot reuse that blog record. So by doing this, it achieves both interoperability and high speed of browser rendering thanks to CloudFront CDN. The last thing is tech stack. I use AWS as an infrastructure layer. I use Lambda, DynamoDB, API Gateway, CloudFront, and as a relay consumer, I use EC2, P3 Medium. And on the server side, I run Next.js on Lambda, so it doesn't run long. When it is requested, it launches and renders articles and returns it to the client side and finishes working. To create frontend, I use Vite and Tailwind CSS with TypeScript. To render Markdown, I use Rehype and Remark packages in TypeScript. Yeah. And there are several challenges in WhiteWind. First of all, moderation
There's
is
a quick
Yep.
question from Armando.
Mhm.
Do you store blobs with some dummy records so the PDS won't garbage collect them, and then you reference them later from the real record?
No, it's directly linked to blog record. So when you upload it, the blog record itself is also updated using com @proto repo put record. And yeah, blog link is inserted.
Right. So basically, every time that you insert an uploaded image, you'll update the record at the same time to capture it.
Yep. Yeah. So that is not garbage collected. Okay. Yeah. The first challenge is moderation. So I saw some demands for sexual contents in WhiteWind. So proper zoning is necessary, but it might be too challenging for a small site service like WhiteWind. I'm the only developer of WhiteWind. Yeah, it's very difficult to check the moderation request by myself. So yeah, I need to borrow some resource from community or somewhere. So the second thing is personalization. I mentioned it a little bit in the previous slides, but a bunch of good themes are available in WordPress or Ghost. So I should not reinvent these things and compete with them. So yeah, some interoperability with them would be necessary. And the last thing is better writing experience. So Markdown is not a beginner friendly, and it would be horrible to write Markdown raw text entries in mobile phone because it will reduce the area of preview. So WYSIWYG editor would be the best UX for them, but of course it would be very difficult to implement it on my own. So yeah, these are the main challenges of WhiteWind and should be addressed in the future. So the last slide is fundamental questions about @proto. I like asking these fundamental questions by myself because it makes me feel I'm a smart person. So I pretend to smart person and I ask these questions myself. So after all, what is the real value of AdFloat for end users and service providers besides technical interestingness? So for end users, of course, it guarantees some, how can I say, interoperability with another app view. So when the app view ends certificates, they can create an alternative, which is great. But you have, I think, your parent. So this is a little bit too much for beginners, maybe, because have you ever heard your parents or friends use Blue Sky because of that? No. I think many of your friends or parents use Blue Sky because it doesn't have ads or it doesn't lower ranks silently via post. So yeah, this is currently not the reason why there are so much large influx is coming to Blue Sky. So and currently AppView doesn't understand external lexicons unless it is explicitly supported. So small newer services will be just ignored by everybody else in AdFloat world. And there's no official federation mechanism in AdFloat for now. So it's a little bit difficult for end users to appreciate the real value of AdFloat until actually the app view and certificates. And on the other hand, service providers, so AdFloat saves time to make account management, backing up data because they are already implemented in DID PLC or PDSs. But on the other hand, using AdFloat, the users can create competitors easily. So maybe this is beneficial to some extent because you can show confidence or lack of malicious intent of the service by daring to take that risk. So it works like a money back guarantee. So if the clients don't like the service, the clients can easily do away with that service. So it might make them feel comfortable. So yeah, but this is a little bit too indirect. So I think more apparent benefits are necessary for AdFloat to be seriously considered as a natural option or for larger AdFloat, larger services, larger commercial level services. Yeah, this is the last slide of my presentation. Thank you for listening. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you. That was fantastic. That and a really great slide to end on there as well. Does anyone have questions? Yes, Chad.
I have a question. I wanted to ask you about the hot entries on the front page of WhiteWind, and you mentioned that this is, they're the hot entries. So how do you decide what goes on that screen? What's the algorithm? And if there is of course there's an algorithm, but is there any options in the future or thinking about having custom algorithms and allowing users to change that algorithm, like we can do with custom feeds in Blue Sky?
So to answer your first question, it is just using the number of reactions of the entry. So for example, in this article, there are 91 reactions. That means the total number of Blue Sky posts or WhiteWind records or front page records is 91. And these are just sorted in descendant order.
Mm-hmm. But it's time. What's the time base? Is it in the last 24 hours or 48 hours or 1 week or?
Currently, there's no time window, so it is net total of all the reactions for now. But yeah, as you can see, there are several very, very old entries here.
Yeah.
So yeah, it would be necessary to implement a time rolling window to calculate these statistics. And to answer your next question about custom feed thing to show here, I've never thought about that, but yeah, I think it's worth considering. Yeah.
It might be something that feed providers like Graze.social or others might be interested in helping you with as well. Yeah. Go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, as sort of a related thing, I think in terms, so obviously WhiteWind and Smoke Signal do different things, but at the core of their user experience is they are record management, right? They're allowing users to create these specialized types of records that go into the atmosphere and then are used. I think feeds is something that really, really can and should be explored more because it actually offloads a lot of responsibility off of you and I as developers. Because if we could allow our app view to generally plug into a feed that is a certain type of record, that all we have to do is worry about hydrating the content of and maybe performing some validation before displaying it, then it means that we don't have to build all of those custom algorithms or build the variety of types of views or feeds that people expect. We can give people the ability to do it themselves. And like with Smoke Signal, it's one example is like location information, and that's really important to people so they can find events near them. Well, I don't necessarily want to have to build the complexity of different regional feeds that might include one city but not another, or I am not a specialist in what's popular in San Francisco versus Omaha, you know? So allowing other people to like create those feeds and curate them, just allowing, just like potentially allowing WhiteWind communities to create those feeds of the types of content that people care about. I think there's an interesting dynamic there, and it kind of fits into the trend, 10, 15 years ago where RSS and Atom were taking off. And I think there are some parallels there.
Yeah, thank you very much. It was very good information for me. Yeah, I'd like to offload responsibility anyway.
Yeah, and to that point of like offloading, Kei-san, you said you were talking about how moderation is a challenge for you, and to be able to, it would be interesting. I don't know the answer to this question, but what about utilizing or the possibility of utilizing the sort of automated moderation that, or even what Blue Sky has, because in Blue Sky users can have all that stuff turned off. Is that does that apply over at WhiteWind? I've never even noticed. I didn't even think to notice this, but like I have everything basically turned off. So I only see the clean internet because I'm a clean boy. And but when I go over to WhiteWind, am I really only seeing the clean internet or?
So I was considering utilizing existing labyrinth ecosystem implemented in Blue Sky, but I'm not sure if they really works with WhiteWind records. I don't think, it's special. I think it's specialized for Blue Sky host records, right?
Yeah.
So
but that's a very interesting one. I'm taking tons of notes afterwards just because I think we're surfacing a bunch of like, the same sort of thing of like, hey, where do we go to add a plugin to Ozone, the moderation admin laborer for your lexicon type? Because honestly, that should be a default step along the way. Again, a lot of us have built little apps before in different ways, but we've got kind of, a user base of 25 million people. And so a lot of this stuff could get big really quickly. Question from Jim. Are you thinking of turning WhiteWind into a business? Do you want to take donations? It's a great question. How can we support you?
That's a good question, I guess. First of all, I'm not considering turning it into a business right now because it's a little bit difficult to monetize because I think nobody wants ads on the WhiteWind records because the content is owned by end users and it just renders their content on our site. So it it, it cannot have us on our side. And also there might be some possibility of problem, but so for example, if I implement some Ghost or WordPress interoperability, then making them a problem would be reasonable. But for now, I've not explored the possibility of these interoperabilities, and I don't know. I'm not sure how difficult it is to make it compatible with WhiteWind. So yeah, maybe
Nope, and no donation button.
donation button. Maybe, yeah.
People want to help pay for your AWS bill.
Yeah. Are you running
Uh,
this off of GitHub? Like, do you do GitHub sponsor or something like that?
I will not set it up, but maybe I will consider it. Maybe the first good support is Starling repository. Yeah. Or
Nighthaven says he wants a zap button. He wants to send you some sats.
Zap button. I will not use that, but maybe I will consider.
I have a counter offer for you on
Mhm.
on Ghost and WordPress support. So I've done a little bit of discussion with Puria, who's the developer behind Uranos. And we have a little bit written up on what we're calling skins or themes. And ideally, we want to do that as a community lexicon that's namespaced by app. And so start very simple, maybe with just some CSS theming, but could be an interesting direction as well, specifically for WhiteWind, where we would have community.lexicon.theme or skin, and then .WhiteWind or something like that, or .type. I haven't sat down and looked at this yet, right? Because any web things you could have common, some CSS and coloring and highlights and stuff like that as a starting point. So I'll write that up and I'll send it out as a link that might be interesting. Are you looking for other people to contribute to the code base as another question? Do you take pull requests?
Yeah, I'm welcoming pull requests. So, and of course, bug reports are also welcome. So when you find bugs, please post it in.
No, there's no bugs in WhiteWind. You're the oldest app. There's no bugs. Just pure clean Go code and JavaScript. Amazing. Couple more questions here. Victoria, related to the idea of custom feeds to help discover different entries, does WhiteWind support RSS right now?
It doesn't right now, but yeah, so I'd like to understand the reasoning behind. So by having RSS, you want to receive the notification or the latest entries, right?
And Victoria, you can feel free to unmute if you like as well. Or we can read them. Either way is fine.
I see. Yeah, I was considering having a custom feed. Field generator for WhiteWind that posts new entries to Blue Sky automatically. But yeah, maybe RSS would be another option. Yeah.
I mean, hilariously, one of the things that you could do is you could have a WhiteWind blogs Blue Sky account where you
Mm-hmm.
post every single new blog. And
Yeah.
because the Blue Sky front end already generates RSS,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
that technically would, again, you're not following
Yeah.
individual, but Nick, you don't like the fact that we're piping everything into itself?
It's an envelope for an envelope for an envelope.
uh, you're getting a bug report live here. I think this is the first live bug report we've ever had on a Tech Talk. Thank you, Nighthaven. You win. We'll send you a badge. First live bug report.
ありがとうございます。後で見ます。
Perfect. I am going to once again say thank you very much for making the time. Okay, that was really, really great. Please do. I'll DM you. I'd love to get the slide, and I'll keep the recording together. We're here at the end of December, so probably no more live things. I have a few people out booking in January already. For those that don't know, I've started sharing plans for a live Atmosphere Developer Conference at the end of March. So still in planning, but anyone who's active developers, I'd like to invite everyone to come. We will also do recordings and make those available for those who can't travel. And thank you all for coming, and happy holidays, and we'll stop the recording there. Thank you.